Hi guys, welcome back to the concluded part of the Facebook login and user details page, where we're going to have the name and username, the profile image, and the logout button from the login process. So from this particular moment, we'll be moving straight to the Java classes, where we're actually going to handle the logic of this particular application. So we have the launcher UI or the launcher class called the main activity. So let's get to integrate some stuff inside this particular activity. The main activity extends app compact, and we have the create method that sets the content to the layout activity main. After this, I'm going to create some private fields. Private call back manager. It's an object callback manager. Good to have another one called private access token tracker. And we'll create an object called access token tracker. We're going to have another one, private profile tracker. The profile tracker. That's fine. Now we have the onCreate method. Now let's import the callback manager. Inside the save instance state, we're going to call the Facebook SDK. Facebook SDK. How about we call the SDK initialize, where we're going to pass the get application context. Just this way. Now we set the content to the activity main. Now we need to initialize the callback manager equals to the callback manager what we call the factory and call the create method. This way. We also call the access token tracker, where we instantiate with a new access token tracker. So that actually gives us the protected concurrent access token changed. Whereby we pass the access token with the old, it should be the old token. Let's maintain old token, and this should also be the current token. That's fine. We have the sets. Close it out there. Now we're going to call the profile tracker. About we instantiate new profile tracker. We have the concurrent profile change. About we have the old profile and the new profile. We have the old profile, and now we're going to have the new profile, not current profile. Just change that as an object created anyway. It can actually maintain the current profile. Next activity will be the new profile. That's fine. Let's close it right there. Now let's call the access token tracker to start tracking. Have it closed. We call the profile tracker to also start tracking. Now we're going to call the login bot is actually from the activity main. Login button. Give an object called login button, which will be equals to the login button. We're trying to get the view by ID here. Find view by ID. Call R ID dot login button. Close that, right? And we're going to have the Facebook callback. Facebook callback. Bye-bye. We're going to pass the login results. As well, create an object called callback, which will be equals to the new instantiating the Facebook callback login results. Now we have on success and on cancel and on error. So on success, we have the login results with an object login results. That's fine. And we have to do something here quickly. We call the profile. Give an object called profile equals to profile. About we get current profile. Close that out. Now next activity. Will actually be past the profile as parameter. We're still going to have a method called next activity, so don't really be bothered about that now. Now we're going to toast, make text, get the application context, like logging in, and we toast. The length short. How about we show this? I'll close it right there. So for the on cancel, we leave that as empty for now, and also for the on error, we leave that as empty for now. So you can actually add some functionalities to that, but that's not our major focus. So let's move on. We call the login button, whereby we set read permissions, which is the user friends. Call the login button again, whereby we call the register callback. Pass the callback manager and the object callback. That's fine. Now we're going to have the life cycle of this particular activity, which is the on resume, on pause, and on stop. So we have the annotation override. We call the protected void on resume. So what we're going to pass, we call the super on resume. And now we have the Facebook login. Let's call the profile. Create an object. Profile. This time we're going to get current profile. Close that right there. Call the next activity again. We're still going to create that particular method, passing the profile. That's for the on resume. Now we're going to have the on parse. To write. Another protected. Void. On parse. This time. Call the super on pause. Just this way. We're going to have the on stop method. About our protected void on stop. About we call the super, just like the way we did for the other ones. Start. And we now have the Facebook login where we call the access token tracker to actually stop tracking. And we have the profile tracker to also stop tracking. Just this way. After this, we're going to have the on activity results, which will actually annotation, and we're going to have the protected void on activity results, which will actually hold up to 3 parameters: the integer request code, integer response code, another one, the intent. Let's import the Android content intent. So we're going to call the super on activity results. About we pass the request code, the response code, and the intent. That's fine. Now we have the Facebook login where we call back manager on activity results. We also pass in those parameters: the request code, the response code, and the intent. Close that right there. That's cool. Now we're going to have another method, and this is the next activity method, which will be private so that it won't be called out of this particular class. Void next activity. So what's actually going to happen? This is actually going to handle the intent, to the user profile that will be created. So we'll pass the profile objects. So let's call if the profile is not equals to null. What should you do? Do something funky here. Call the intent. Give it the main equals to instantiate the new intent. What about you passing this particular activity, which is main activity? This keyword, let's see what we're doing. This covers it up. That's this particular class. and we'll be calling the user profile, which we'll be creating dot class to actually handle the intent. Now, what are we going to be passing into this intent? We call the main put extra. That's how you pass values into your intent to another activity or to another fragment use. The first is the name. We call the profile object to get the first name. That's way. We're going to be putting put extra. We're also passing the surname. Call the profile. We get the last name. The third extras that will be put in, put extra. Now will be the image URL. Call the profile. Now we get the profile picture URI. Whereby we're going to pass the width and height we want for this particular profile picture. Let's convert to string. Perfect. That's just it. Whereby we use the Facebook SDK to do all this funky stuff. Now we need to create the user profile that we actually take up this intent. There is name, surname, and the image URL. So let's get to create that quickly now. So before we create the user profile, we need to lock in the values of your Facebook app ID right inside the strings. Let's quickly do that. We're going to have something of this nature. The string. The name, let's call it Facebook app ID. Very important. You need this, or else there won't be authentication of this particular app. This is where you pass in the app ID, which is always you get it from the Facebook developer console, which I actually showed you in the first tutorial concerning the Facebook login and the user details. You have the app ID, you copy it and paste this over here. This is just an anonymous figure. It's not actually something usable, but you can create yours. We actually employ to create yours. If you haven't, go to the developers Facebook and create a new application. Follow the steps involved and generate your Facebook app ID. So you need to copy that into this particular version. So let's have another string. Probably we'll be needing the string later on. The name, let's call it title. Activity. We need something that will actually showed up at the toolbar of the user profile. So let's call this user profile. Just this way. So back to your class, the main activity, right on point. So let's create a new Java class called user profile. Okay, to create that. This extends the app compact activity very quickly. So let's have the structure, which is override, protected, the onCreate method, whereby you have the bundle, save instance state, set. Let's call the super on create. Passing the saved instance state. That's fine. That's the structure for the onCreate. And we're going to have another one called another class to actually download the image. Public class right inside the user profile. We call it download image to download the image, whereby we extend the async tags, and we're going to pass the string void and bitmap. Let's import this. We'll get to our finished stop, whereby we create a constructor and something right inside it. But let's go back to the onCreate method. We have some other things to do right here. Let's call the Facebook SDK. And call the SDK initialize. Pass this class. Let's set the content view. To our layout. Now this time it's going to be activity user profile. That's cool. Now we need a toolbar. And the toolbar equals toolbar. Let's find a view by ID. Call the ID toolbar. Now you may not need the set support action bar toolbar for this particular, for API 21, but just let us include this for other versions of APIs. Let's pass in the toolbar. You have it set this way. That's fine. So let's quickly create some fields up there with it. Private, the share dialog. We're still going to include a share dialog to actually enable us to share content to our Facebook page. So that's an inclusion. Now call the share dialog. We need to import this from the Facebook widget. And we'll have called the logout button. Now let's import the button as well. So let's continue over here. Now we need to call the share dialog by instantiating with a new share dialog class. Over there, we pass this particular class as parameter. Now we call the floating action button because that's where the share will actually be linked with the floating action button. Created an object fab. Let's instantiate. Call the floating action button again. Get the view by ID. Find the view by ID. Now we'll call our ID fab. Goes this way. Now same fab set. Now click listener to this. So what are we going to pass in? First of all, we need to instantiate the new view. Click listener. Just this way. We give. Now we need to override the on click. Let's override. We have the public. Now we pass the view object view. So we actually click on this button. We call the share link content. Well, we have content parameter equals to new share link instantiating, and we pass new share link content. About we call the builder, and build this up. Cool. Let's call the share dialog to actually show the content. That's fine. So after this, we now need to get the extras, and some stuff we passed in from the main activity. So don't let us forget that. Let's call the bundle to actually get those extras in bundle equals to get intent. About we get extras. We have the string name equals to in bundle. Now we get the name. We convert to string. Same thing goes for the surname. String surname is like the variable in bundle objects. We get is the key, which is the surname, and we convert to string. We also need to get the image URI string. Got the image URL in bundle. Get the key, which is image URL, and we convert to string. That's cool. We have the sets. Now we need to use them up. So we got to do that quickly as well. So let's try to use them up, like pass it into the text view, display the images, and do some other things. Now let's pass the text view. Give a name view. We'll call the text view. Now we find view by ID. Or by get the ID, name, and surname. I have to call the name view. About we're going to set the text. Set text. Let's give a space. Now let's concatenate with the name. Let's concatenate the name, concatenate with space, so that there'll be a space between the name and surname. That's the first name and the surname. Now we give a surname. This way. Actually created the structure. Now for the button logout, what we're going to do? Button logout to be equals to button. Let's find the view by ID. R ID logout. Now we're going to set an on-click listener to this logout. Set listener, instantiate the new view that click listener. Override so that we're going to have the onClick method public void onClick. What about we're going to pass the view just this way, and we're going to have the login manager to undo this, which will get the instance, get the logouts. Fine. Now the intent after the logout, which activity will be called? Go back to the previous activity, pass the new intent. Let me import the intent, Android content intent. So it's actually from the user profile this class, and it goes back to the main activity. We call it class. Close that right there. Now we need to start the activity after we create that, which is login, passing parameter, and we finish up. Fine. Over here, we need to instantiate the download manager. We need a download of the image. Never talked of that. Now let's instantiate the class main app. Now it's going to be user profile, which we call on the download image over there, and right inside there we pass the image view so that the image will actually sit there. We find view by ID, call the R ID, the profile image. Now we execute with the image URL. We get to create the functionality of this particular inside the download image class I created earlier. So let's have the view, image view, which will be BM image. Now I'm going to call the constructor public download manage download image. Pass the image view. So the BM image. So let's set this class called the BM image, which will be the value of the parameter passed in called BM image. Just this way. I will set right there. Now inside there we have a method. Inside this class download image, we have a method protected bitmap doing background. The doing background method. About we have the string. 1, 2, 3. URLs. This way. Now let's do something right there. First of all, call the string, the URL to display, URL display equals to URLs. Now this will be the first index of the array, 0. Now the bitmap, with an object m icon 11 equals to null. Let's have a try and catch statement. Try. Call the input stream. If you're familiar with this in Java, it's Java IO. Give an object in, instantiate with the new java.net.url. So you call the URL display, and you need to open up the stream. Cool. Now you call the m icon level equals to the bitmap factory, whereby you get to decode the stream. This decode the stream, passing a parameter which is the input stream object. Now we get to catch this for an exception. Create an object E. So how are we going to catch it? We log to tag, passing the error. Whereby we get the message of this particular error. Set this way. That's fine. I think we're rolling. Now you need to print to stack trace. Stack trace. We still need to return the value of m icon 11. That's what we need. Now outside this particular method, we call another method called protected void on post execute. Now we have the bitmap results. So what we're going to do, we call the BM image to set the image bitmap, passing the results, this parameter, and have it set appropriately. Can you notice that we have a do in background method to actually download the image using the try and catch statement, and we have to return the value of the image, the bitmap. You can see the way we actually got the extras, whereby we need the name and surname and also the image URL, and we use the floating action button to actually create the share dialog. That you want to share some content to your Facebook fans or something. So the floating action button that sits at the bottom right of your phone or tablet will actually have this functionality integrated. So we actually did 3 things. First of all, we get the user profile, whereby we have the name, surname, image URL. We display the URL, the image profile of the particular user, and also shared content. You have the ability to share, using the floating action button. So this is quite simple. I want you to follow along with this particular tutorial, and you also need to create your app ID. Don't forget to do that. Afterwards, I'll be showing this in an Android emulator so that we're able to look at how the login actually flows. So don't go anywhere, step back. Let's forget, right there in the manifest, we need to register the activity used. We need to specify the provider, and we need to put in the metadata. Whereby we're going to pass the Facebook app ID, this is very, very important. And we even need to pass in an Android permission. So let's quickly do that. We have the user's permission, Android name, which is actually going to be internet. Let's call it Android permission. Internet. Over there. Have it set. So we use /. That's fine. Now we will need to. We have the interfacer, whereby we have the main activity as the launcher of this particular application. That's cool. So let's actually pass in the metadata of this application. Very, very important. Metadata. Whereby we have the Android name, called the com.facebook SDK as the SDK with the application ID. After that, we pass in the value, which we call the @string, whereby you call the Facebook app ID. So this is where you actually pass in your Facebook app ID. Very important as well. So we have the set. Now we need to register the activity used, whereby we have Android name, com.facebook, the Facebook activity, that's from the library. We have the Android label, because we're actually going to call this activity as well. Label, which will be Facebook. Or don't let us add code. Let's call the app name @string. App name. The perfect way to specify things. Now let's specify the Android screen orientation. Let's give it a portrait. Let's go. Now we're going to specify the provider. About we have the Android authorities, Facebook app, Facebook content provider. Now we need the app name, which will actually become .facebook Facebook content provider. We also need the Android exported equals to true. Close that right there. The last inclusion will be the activity, which is the user profile. We need to register that as well. On that, or else you get to get a null pointer exception. So we call the cam dot Delaware Studios, the user profile, this one, the user profile. Pass it in. We give it a label, Android label. So this is where we get to use the string. This time is going to be the title for the activity main to, which was specified. After this, we're going to give a theme, Android theme. I'll call it style. No action bar, but perfect. So let's look into this one. So with this set appropriately, we have the permission of internet. We add the metadata, whereby we call the Facebook SDK application ID, whereby we pass the app ID created from the Facebook developer dashboard. We also call the Facebook activity, make it the screen orientation as portrait, and we call the Facebook content provider, very important, and we pass in the user profile, which is actually going to display the name and surname of the user, the image, and also the logout button. And with the help of the share intent to actually pass in, let's say, news or feeds to your fans in Facebook. That's fine. From here, I'll be launching this in an emulator so I can see how it flows. So stay with me. Here we go with the application, the Facebook login user details. Now we get to click on the login button. That's login with Facebook. Let's get to click on this. We're actually going to be forwarded to a window to pass in our login details. But if you're actually testing it out in a real device that you have the Facebook application, you may not need to verify your login details. No, you would have actually logged in using the Facebook app, so the authentication would just be seamless. So now I don't have the Facebook application, so I have to pass in my login details. I'll quickly do that. My email address, so the password. I click on login to actually log me into this using Facebook authentication. You have already authorized login. Okay, just to confirm that. Afterwards, can you see this? Hello, Bamdele Butuga. That's my full name with surname, and you can see my profile picture, and you can see the logout button. You can also see the floating action button that will enable me to actually post content to the Facebook page. So this is just how the structure looks like, and this is how it's going to be. So once you click on your logout, I'm going to be logged out of this session, and once I click on the floating action button, I should have the ability to share content. So let me do that before logging out of this particular session. Can you see this? The parameter href for media is required. I actually need the Facebook app, running on the device, so that this href or media requirements can be easily passed. So I actually need that for that to actually work seamlessly. But the main focus is actually the user profile, whereby I have my name, my picture, and I have the ability to log out. So you can actually integrate Facebook login system into your application, and this particular page can be the activity page of your app, and you have the ability to also log out of the system. So you're not just stuck on a page. This actually takes you to another activity for you to continue with your application process. So let me click on log out to actually log me out of this. Can you see that I'm taken back to the calling activity, which is the login activity. So that's just it. And I will employ you to integrate this particular snippet into your application. Facebook authentication is quite good and it's also credible. Thank you guys for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a pleasant time.